Welcome, Prog Noggins everywhere, to the latest episode of the Prog Council. This is a special episode because this falls outside of our normal schedule, our monthly schedule, because we just felt with the onset of the first tour by Rush in 10, 11 years, 10 years, 11 years, depending on when you saw them last, we had to talk about this a little bit. And you know what? It seems actually fitting that tonight there is a trio of us to talk about the Holy Trio. With me tonight, of course, is Jordan Blum of Sonic Perspectives and Loudwire and Prog Magazine. Jordan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Always happy to be here. Always love doing these. Just trying to, survive in the hot summer weather as it's getting closer and closer to 100 degrees in Philly. But I'm doing okay.
Awesome. Yes, here we are in the Southeast PA/South Jersey area, one of the armpit of the country, one side of it anyway, between the heat and humidity. So awesome. Well, welcome, Jordan. And joining us, special guest this evening, the lead guitarist of the premier Rush tribute band, YYNOT. We have Billy Alexander joining us. Billy, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, doing really well. It's speaking of weather, it hasn't quite turned California hot here yet, but it's just kind of doing its normal, comfortable thing. So no complaints.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Glad to have you here tonight. That's an awesome thing to have somebody with a very special connection to Rush in more ways than one. And of course, for those of you watching, if you've been on Bleeding Edge, you know who I am. I'm Dave, who I never like to share my last name. Actually, I just don't. It's Dave Ayres. Anyway, I'm here hosting the whole thing and pushing buttons for people. So as we said in the intro, it's time to talk a little bit about Rush. And there are so many angles and so many mini stories, I think, going on with this tour, both from the initial announcement up till now. We've had, I think, just the first set of shows. I don't know if they've gotten to the second set yet or not. I've lost track a little bit, to be honest. And the world seems abuzz, not just the music world necessarily, but it's getting all kinds of attention and talking about. So I guess we can organize ourselves maybe a little bit chronologically. So I'm curious for you guys what your first thoughts were when Rush announced they were going to be touring again. And Billy, you're the special guest, so I'll let you go first.
Oh, I was thrilled. Yeah, I saw, well, probably what everybody saw, which was the Geddy and Alex basically announcing it, and then announcing who they were going to have play drums, and that was intriguing. And then I was already kind of aware of her with Jeff Beck, and sort of knew a little bit about her as a sort of a jazz fusion / rock drummer. But so I thought I was really intrigued to see how it was going to work. And so no, I was just very excited. And then not too long after they started announcing the early tour dates, a really good friend of mine, and who's sort of a fan as well as friend, he sort of insisted that, okay, we're going, your wife's going, my significant other's going. I was like, well, I don't know, man, let me think about this. I've seen people talk about the ticket prices and this and that. Anyway, so we ended up going and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I was fully in support of it. I always think bands should get back together if they feel the time is right, if they have a good reason to. And I think over the last 10 years or so, if you surveyed any real really any prog rock fan, which bands would you want to see reunite, they'd probably be the number one band. I know just from my inner circle of friends who worship Rush, they've been clamoring for it for a decade. And even after Neil died a few years ago, they still, most of the people I know were still open to it. They were just kind of eager to see who would sit behind the kit and take his place. And I'm happy for everybody too, but I'm really relieved that people seem to be so receptive to how it's gone so far. They've only done the 4 shows, I think. They're picking up again tonight in Mexico. So they did their four-night residency at the Kia Forum. That's been going really well. So it seems like everyone's liking it so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Yeah, I think for me and for those that want to seek it out, I did actually a video just talking specifically about the announcement back when it happened and sharing a bunch of thoughts. But I can remember thinking back that I felt excitement for it. I was thrilled to think of them getting back. Like I knew, and from what I've been reading, how much Alex and Geddy missed going out there playing, missed doing things. I know Alex was kind of keeping himself active, doing things with Envy of None and all that, which is such a different type of band and project than Rush or anything he'd really done before. And at the same time, that mixed feeling, because like there's that part of me, it's like, I'm going to go see them. But almost regardless of whether somebody is sitting in that kit, behind that kit or not, I'm going to, partly my brain is going to go to that missing individual, that lack of Neil. Because Neil is just, for me, just such an important part of the band, important part of my life. Like, honestly, I'd say to a large degree, he contributed to shaping my worldview. So many of his lyrical quotes stick in my mind. So there's that part of me is like, man, I really do want to see them. I'm so thrilled I get to see them again. And at the same time, there's that part of me going, but damn it, Neil's not going to be there. Somebody else is going to be there, and it's going to feel a little weird. So I'm still a little bit in that camp, I guess. Like I very much want to go see them, and I very much know that it's going to seem so strange with somebody else in that kit, in that seat. But that's my thing to deal with. I will just have to work through my grief a little bit and manage the fact that life has changed, and it's only so much you can do with that. Yeah. And that ties into the big thing with the person selected to sit in for him. And I guess I'm curious what you guys have went through your minds when you saw the kind of mixed back and forth. There was fan reaction, a lot of people complaining basically that their little man hearts were broken because she was a woman and they were struggling to deal with that. I'm kind of curious how much of that either of you noticed and what your thoughts were.
I saw less of that than I expected, but I did see some of it. Oh, go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these Rush groups online and everything, and no shortage of opinions on the internet, right? To me, it felt like a fresh idea to, first of all, male or female, to come up with something sort of unexpected and a little bit, kind of out of the realm of what people would normally expect, like a name drummer or somebody who'd worked with them before, or it kind of felt like it was outside the box in terms of the thinking, and leave it to those guys to always do something a little different and think outside the box and move forward with something. There's obviously the misogynistic element and everything. Well, you're also, you were personally talking about how much Neil meant to you with the band, and it becomes their songs, their being fans of them, and everything's attached to your life. I mean, they meant so much to all of us. It had such a profound effect, through the years and through our lives. Being that sort of the music being the backdrop for so many memories and so many thoughts. And he was not just a drummer, and he wasn't just a member of a band. He was like an equal pillar of three giant pillars of a massive band. You're not just gonna so they probably dealt with that too. They're like, well, look, he was our brother as well as all those things. He's irreplaceable. There's no other drummer on planet Earth that's ever going to replace him. So let's just take that mindset off the table and let's just go with, we would really enjoy, after this 11 years, to play our songs again live. And some people are going to like that we're deciding to do that. Some aren't, but it's our lives. It's our catalog. It's our band. And I went with it with that kind of attitude. Like, I trust them to do what they want to do for them. And I can have my opinions, and I have my little things, even at, at the show, which we can talk about, that, I missed him. I missed him in the sound. I missed him in the playing. I missed his presence, all those things. But it was made up for by some things that were kind of intangible. And if you guys get a chance to go to a show, I'd love to hear afterwards if you had the same feelings. And I think they had a sense of that, or they wouldn't have done it. I don't think they would have also done anything to remotely dishonor his memory or dishonor the music. So I guess that's what it comes back for me before even going to the show. I sort of I trusted them to offer something that was not less than, their standards. And I feel like, it was there.
Yeah, I mean, I every time I get in any kind of conversation about this stuff, I always talk about how I hate how entitled people can get with some of this stuff, which is it's one thing to have the nostalgia. It's one thing to have your feelings about it. Absolutely. But this is not if it's not there were 3 people in Rush. It's not anybody else's band. So if you don't like what they're doing, don't go see them. There's a fine line between the nostalgia and all that. And again, I famously am not. The Rush is not one of my biggest bands. I respect them. I know about them, but they were never one that I grew up with. So I kind of have almost an outsider to a degree perspective. But no, I mean, to me, it's the misogynistic aspect of it is almost comical at this point, because it's so out of touch. It's so predictable. It's so pathetic. And it's to me, I would say the most stark thing is just the age gap, because I think she's only about 4 years older than me. She was born in '83. So that's what kind of draws me to it. It's just there's such a much younger person playing with these guys, even though Lauren is also younger. But I mean, I think you could almost think of it as, this is going to sound dumb maybe, but deleted scenes or bonuses. You can, if you want to, you can pretend that this is Rush. The story of Rush is not diminished by this. You can pretend this is just a bonus. And if people don't like that it's happening, just imagine that it's not happening. And also, what would Neil think about the misogyny? What would this get Neil's blessing? Probably. So, yeah, I mean, again, I haven't seen a lot of pushback, which I'm glad. But anybody who's pushing back against it, you have the option to not acknowledge it and let people have what they want to. All the people who love what's happening, let them enjoy it, and let the band enjoy getting back up there.
Yeah, I'm with you. The fact that people wanted to complain about it, obviously, I didn't care one way or the other what the gender was. It was a surprise because I was not aware of her prior to that, and it's I'm going to admit it, I don't immediately come to mind with a large number of female drummers. So it's easy to think, oh, maybe they're going to let one of these other well-known guys step in. Maybe they're going to pull in a well-known session player. Maybe they're going to do this, and they pull her, and yeah, very much out of left field. And, as much as I wasn't sure who the heck she was, number one, I don't know that there are any 2 people more qualified on the planet, in the universe, to decide who can replace Neil. And I shouldn't say the word replace, but who can pick up from where Neil left off, and they can sit in that chair and play their music. Who's going to know better than Geddy and Alex, who's talented enough and skilled enough to do it? Nobody. Number 2, when that was coming up, I decided, let me grab some of her videos and watch what she does. Holy smokes. Immediately I was taken aback by her clear talent and how good she was. Now, I know initially I was looking at and watching how she kind of moved around the kit. I'm like, God, she almost reminds me of Neil a little bit. Is their style similar? And then when I look something up, no, their style's not similar at all. That just shows you how much I actually know about drumming for a drummer. Haven't picked up the sticks since I was in high school. But, she clearly was so impressively talented. And at the same time, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And it's, it's one of those things that everybody is a little bit on edge till they see it happen live. But I'm with Billy. I totally and completely and utterly trust Alex and Geddy to make the best and right decision about who's going to do this and ultimately how they're going to do it. I mean, from what I'm reading, like they spent a lot of time talking with Neil's family before making this decision, before moving forward with this, and basically wanted to get their blessing and make sure they were cool with it because, they got some skin in the game as well. And then I saw some recent snippets of interviews where at some point in time, I guess there was a little bit of what Geddy and I guess Alex by extension found off-putting were these other well-known drummers like, boom, on the phone, stepping up before she was selected to start volunteering to fill in and take over the drums for the band. And I guess the timing of it, the way it was approached or whatever, I didn't get a chance to dig deeper into that. It took, it was one of those things I saw in passing and went, whoa, that's interesting. I wonder who all that could have been and wonder when all that took place. So, I think people, if they were off-putting in doing that and putting themselves forward, they clearly underestimated, how important this is and meaningful it is to Alex and Geddy to do it right and honor Neil's memory. And so as usual, the less said about the alpha male incels, the better. If they couldn't handle it, they can't handle it. I don't care. And it's funny as we're talking about it. You said Lauren for a minute there. I went, who? I'm like, oh, right. That other guy that's joining him on the tour that's getting no attention whatsoever.
Yeah. I haven't, even the headlines I've been seeing of because between both sites, Loudwire and Ultimate Classic Rock, because they're both under Town Square. But they've done news stories on every one of the 4 shows, I think, of just a new song in the first time in 50 years. And all the other coverage I've seen, even the social media reactions to it, I haven't seen anybody talking about him at all. Which I guess makes sense because, she's sitting in Neil's seat, that's where the spotlight is, that's the question, that's the controversy. And he's just, not to diminish what he's doing, but he's just the extra keyboardist. He's not filling in for somebody so much.
He's there to be Geddy's
surprising how
foot
much
pedals.
he's not getting the attention. I'm sorry.
He said he's there to be Geddy's foot pedals.
Yeah, I understand why he's not getting the spotlight as much, for better or worse, but it's a shame that if he is doing such a good job, which it seems like he is, then he should be getting more of the attention that the other 3 are getting too.
Right. Now, I think this flows chronologically as we get there. I know initially there was a lot of consternation about the amount of dates that were announced, how few there were, and how few cities they were going to. And I remember people going, I didn't know, oh my God, And I said, just relax. There'll be more. Mm-hmm. And I was right. I don't often get to say I get too many predictions dead on, but that one I was right about. I knew it would come, and they wanted to engage interest, and I got to think they were blown away a little bit. Meanwhile, at the same time, sort of simultaneously, there was a bit of a controversy about the ticket prices because it's not what Rush fans are kind of used to. Granted, the last time Rush fans had a chance to buy tickets for a show was 10 years ago. So I'm curious, and we'll keep our cycle going here. Billy, what were your initial reactions? What were the reactions of people around you between the announcement of the cities and the ticket prices and all that? Because I know there was a little bit of controversy with both.
Well, going back to the beginning of January, when we were performing and doing the Bubba Bash and at the Keswick in, what is it, Glenside, Pennsylvania? That's near you guys, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes away.
Right. So the guy from Rush who runs sound for Rush had run sound for us last year. And he's a friend. And he couldn't do it this year, and he couldn't tell us why. And then he shows up, and I saw him backstage. And as I was talking to him, he was telling me some behind-the-scenes stuff that might interest some people. This was, like I said, the beginning of January. First of all, she was having some problems getting into Canada for some issues, and she was to meet with Lauren to go over the kit. And apparently there was she was a little flustered because she was trying to figure out her style on this music, on this kit. And Lauren sort of explained the mentality and the architecture of the kit and the design of the parts and all that. And then she kind of, cracked the code. And this was early on. And then the subject of the ticket prices came up. And I don't know how much I want to say. In fact, probably not too much. I don't want to get in trouble. But I will. Let me just tell you this. Just like many bands, they don't set the ticket prices. And most bands, especially ones who respect their fans and have always been known to respect their fans, the last thing they want to do is screw over their fans and gouge them. So let me just put that out there, and you can use your imagination on whose fault ticket prices were. It wasn't, they wanted something different, and it was kind of not in their hands, so to speak. I'll just say that without bringing up companies or names or details, right? So that I kind of know, I guess maybe secondhand, firsthand, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so that was, that just made me, and then the other, I think you guys mentioned about, it being different or sort of like having a mental thing of what this is going to be. Even at that point, he was telling me people have to know, because he was already at early rehearsals. So he already knew. And he said, you have to have a different thing about it. You can't expect it to be Rush from, whatever, 1990 and 85 or anything like that. It's almost like the mentality of like a Clockwork, or what was it, Clockwork Angels, when they had like an orchestra incorporated. You have to just, it's like you have to bring a different mindset to it and open your mind and not be pinned to what your expectations are or based off of the past. And that was a good little tip for me too. I mean, I was already ready to do that, but it was like, he was just kind of saying, of course it's not going to be the same. Right. So, so that was just some early information that I had that sort of circling in the back of my mind when I, went to the show. So,
yeah, I mean, like, as you said, Dave, because as you were talking about her fitting in, I was thinking that, not that I could speak for them, but I always got the sense that, like, they care more about their fan. Like, I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, they would not do anything that they thought would upset the fans, I don't think. Not to say like other bands don't care about the fan base, but I feel like it's more of like a family vibe with like Rush and the fans, and like even the connections that people have if they're both Rush fans. It's like automatic friendship and all. So yeah, I imagine that they would not, that it's not out of their hands, that they would not want tickets to be this expensive, because I imagine they want like the fan. They're doing this for the fans as much as for themselves in terms of like getting back up there and honoring Neil's memory and all. So I never thought it was in their control, at least fully, that the tickets were so expensive. And just knowing how the industry works, yeah, that's not always the case. It's rarely the case that they set their own prices like that. But whatever the cause is, like, it's certainly disheartening that some people can't attend. Like, again, I know certain people who were like in tears when they found out that they were reuniting, and then they were just priced out of going. And they're still like messaging me, or I'm just seeing statuses of just almost like vicariously looking at the YouTube videos, because that's all they can do. And it is a shame, but I don't think it's necessarily like Geddy and Alex's fault. And as you said, Billy, it's not.
Yeah, it's, and I think that's the hard part for people to accept.
Yeah. And I think, by the way, I'm not an expert on it, but I think, yeah, I was going to say, for some of those people, I've heard stories where you can still get tickets at an affordable rate. They're maybe not up front, but I think they're, from what I'm hearing, if you do it right, or you wait, or you don't go through directly through whoever. Again, I'm not going to mention corporations. You might still have a chance, So for those people out there, maybe don't give up hope. You might find an affordable ticket. And if you're in the building, you're at the show, So
Yeah, that's the hard part for me, because one, I know Rush is a band that's going to command big stadiums. I have not been a fan of big stadium shows for a long time, mostly because I end up with seats that aren't that great for prices that are too high. I can never quite get where I want to be. Now, granted, prior to, we'll say 2 years ago, I went with my girlfriend to a Peter Gabriel show. But prior to that, my last big stadium show was Rush. And I remember feeling like, wow, that's the most I'm ever going to probably spend on concert tickets, because I got the VIP tickets, 14th row, bought one for myself and my two kids who had never been to a Rush show before. And they were I think, 17, 14 or something like that at the time. I forget exactly, but they'd never been. And that ran me close to $1,000. And I was like, all right, I'm not sure I can afford it, but screw it. We're going, we're doing this. This is maybe the last show I ever get to see them. And I was so glad I did it. And now it's this one trumps it completely. Now we're going, and because Catherine, God bless her, my girlfriend, surprised me at Christmas with a pair of tickets for the concert second night in Philly.
Oh.
So we're definitely going to that, and they're pretty good seats. I started nosing around at seats now, and basically I think after the LA shows went off so well, these ticket reseller listing them, they doubled in price. So people got excited. Another friend of mine who has tickets to one of the Toronto shows, as I guess was looking at more tickets for the Toronto show, and I shit you not, he sent a screenshot of the prices, and in the first 2 or 3 sections, whatever it was, on the floor, $31,000 was the price asked for them, which is
No.
who's going to that price?
That's ridiculous.
That's insane. But yes, it is sad to me that there's probably a lot of long-term diehard fans who got priced out of this, or who might, I don't know, maybe they'll find a way. The prices aren't bankrupting level prices. So, somewhere along the line, if you desperately want to go, if you really, really have to, you can probably do it. It's not going to be cheap, though, and you might have to sacrifice something along the way. I'm glad to think, I like to think that they had no real say in these things kind of being much inflated above the norm. It's kind of the way of concerts these days. Thanks to the monopoly that shall remain unnamed on this particular podcast. And it is what it is, but that's kind of on them. And then the resellers that still, I wish the resellers weren't a thing that could be happening, where people buy these things up to sell them later at a profit. And it's not fair to the real fans that want to be there. So, I don't know how to fix that exactly, other than break up the monopoly and outlaw ticket reselling, but good luck. There's a lot of money involved in that stuff. So
I'm still holding out hope that I'll be able to cover it for at either the Philly or Madison Square Garden show for Prog, but that's certainly not, it's never a guarantee.
Sure.
But I could easily see me reaching out. I don't know. I think they may have already covered it anyway, but I could easily see me reaching out and saying, like, hey, I was asked by my editor to cover this. And 9 times out of 10, I get it. But I could easily see them saying, like, no, we're sold out, or we don't need the coverage or anything like that. Like, even it's just so in demand that I would not be surprised if, like, they're not even doing any kind of press passes for anybody, which, they don't have to, again, but it's just so, like, just popular that it's hard to get a ticket in any sense.
It is quite the phenomenon at this point in time. And 16-year-old me, who felt like all of his classic rock and metalhead friends were always dumping on Rush, now feeling like so completely and utterly vindicated. I'm curious, because it seems like it's really taken on national headlines. This has really become well beyond what I was used to Rush getting as far as coverage. Billy, are you shocked by how big this has become?
Not really. I think, after the opening show in Los Angeles, and all the storyline behind it and all the PR, related to just the backstory and everything else, it doesn't surprise me at all, really, because they're really the biggest band in the world right now. I'd have to say, currently, they're talked about more than anybody. And it's partly because of the drumming situation, the uniqueness of the band, the 50-year history, the catalog, the story, every element of it kind of makes me think it should be this big of a deal. Not just because we're sort of like uber Rush fans or whatever. They're beyond the cult following and the whole thing. They're, I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just everything. Some of the most respected musicians on the planet, on and on and on. So, I mean, I'd be disappointed, I think, if it wasn't this talked about. I guess not disappointed, but you know what I mean. I'd be surprised if it were, not disappointed. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm reminded. I'm pulling up what our usual co-host Paul said. Well, he said the nonsense about Annika was ridiculous. She's awesome, and it was refreshing, enlightening decision from day one. I love everything that's happening except the price. But then he said Rush has evolved into the greatest corporate rock band of all time. So I just wanted to bring that up as part of this discussion.
Yeah. In a way.
But yeah, I mean, there's only a handful of prog bands that have really gone beyond being a niche thing, like a cult thing, a nerdy male thing, and Rush is definitely one of them. Not only just because of moving pictures, but just like the legacy and the infamy of, maybe that's not the right word, but just like the transcendence of like the members, especially. I think it maybe especially Neil Peart when he died, of just how many people were even talking about that a few years ago. I think that brought a whole new audience that didn't even really think about them, and to see what they were all about. This band that everyone, the drummer of whom is everyone's mourning. So yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of a few years ago when Porcupine Tree reunited, and I remember they were at the Met in Philly, and the line was around the block, and I was surprised by that because I didn't think they were that big. You always see the same few people at prog shows in Philly, but it was around the block, and I was surprised. And I think it's maybe just that idea that a band is coming back. So even if you aren't a fan, it's almost like you want to be a part of that zeitgeist.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you don't want to take a chance that they don't ever come back again. So you're going to hit the show while you can. And like Billy put it, my God, to think that this band that I spent all those formative years, basically most people viewing them as not cool, the uncool guys. And here it is. I think we lost Jordan there. Hopefully he comes back soon. Just the idea that they now could be considered the biggest band in the world, that just blows my mind to think of how things have changed and all of that. And the fact that I know originally, earlier in the year when we started doing these Prog Council shows, one of the topics we talked about is the Rush tour the biggest story in Prague this year? And that was only a few months ago. I think you nailed it. It's not just the biggest story in Prague, it's the biggest story in music, period, that they have grown that big. And that just wows me.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, but totally deserved, totally understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, the boys have grown in so many ways beyond what it used to be. The world has acknowledged their greatness, and now they are followed so closely by so many people, and I love that. It's just a shame it makes it harder to get tickets for the show.
I feel like they've almost they're influential in just a traditional kind of prog sense, and obviously with tribute bands and just so many bands covering their music, whether officially or not. I think they've also kind of etched out their own path of sci-fi, kind of not in a negative sense, but nerd prog. And it's they Coheed and Cambria is obviously an obvious example of that, but that whole kind of subsection of more modern prog bands, I think all owe a debt to Rush kind of doing it first. Especially so even bands that aren't within the prog wheelhouse, but maybe tap into that kind of songwriting and artwork, still owe a debt to Rush, even if they don't know it, even if it's indirect. It still goes back to that.
Yeah, indeed, truly. So meanwhile, one of us so far has had the distinct pleasure of being able to see this tour live. Now, of course, that's you, Billy, which you've mentioned already. So I'm very curious to hear your reflections on seeing that. That was opening night, so Like, to me,
Right.
that's one of the, oh, great, that's amazing. You get to see them opening night. I also know that opening night sometimes can be the one where bands are still getting in the role of the tour, and sometimes the later shows can be even better. But I've heard really, really great reviews on that first show. What reflections can you share with us about that?
Well, just thinking and responding sort of in my memory chronologically, you might say. Um, and I was, just to give you, I guess, a little perspective, I was like 18th row center. So I had a pretty good
Oh, wow.
field of view and sound and everything. But the first thing was the opening song, which of course now everybody knows, but at the time, nobody saw that coming. Starting with Xanadu. I mean, just that right there was, I mean, it was just like hair on the arms, just the neck, just like, are you kidding me? They're opening with this, with the double necks. I mean, just that alone just immediately took you back to being, like an 11-year-old kid or whatever for me. And so that really set the stage. And then the second thing was, I'm not, am I doing spoiler alert kind of stuff here by talking about this? I don't want to talk too much. I don't want to spoil anybody's. Should I be
Go
careful?
for it. At this point, you have now put
Okay.
up spoiler alerts. I'll put
Okay.
thing on the
Okay.
bottom
Well,
says skip to
I
this
mean,
section if you don't want to hear
I mean,
Billy's
I
voice.
mean, the internet's probably flooded with more than I can even tell you, but also where they situated her drum kit, sort of with them, it seemed like it was tighter. Like she was kind of down more at their level, and it felt more like it felt smaller. It didn't feel like such a grandiose stage set where they're just completely these separated things. They felt closer to me, and that was interesting. Um, and then, some of the stuff about some of the way she played some of the drum parts a little differently. I picked up on that. I definitely picked up on the different tuning of the kit. Um, Now I have my, opinion on that. It's not like it bothered me. I have my preference, which would be more the way Neil tuned the kit for this music. Okay. That, you can go crazy with opinions on that. That was something that hit me. But I just kind of put it out of my mind and just went with the flow. It's sort of like when you're watching a movie that some of it's ridiculous and you suspend disbelief. You just go with it. Don't sit there and think too hard. Just enjoy it. So that was great. And then the set list. And then it was funny how they did this time because you know, not the next night, but they were splitting up the nights. And I saw the set list from the one that was the second show, and I had like this weird FOMO because I was like, oh, they did. It's like you have this weird mental thing. It's like, wait a minute, they got that song. Well, we got. Okay, never mind, So it's interesting to see. It's almost like somebody coming back from Halloween as a kid and comparing candy. It's like, what'd you get? Well, what'd you get? Well, I got vital signs. Well, what'd you get? Well, I got bravado, or you know what I mean? It was I thought that's kind of a brilliant way for them to also satisfy as many as well as themselves. And then some of these songs where I was assuming they'd stay away from because he's 11 years older than when I saw them here in Irvine. His voice he's really worked on it. And that was really a pleasant surprise too. It was like, wow, it really is. And then, and I'll just end on this. My last thought was just, you really did. It was a clear, if you didn't know it before, example of you cannot replace Neil Peart. I mean, it's not a dig against her at all. She did, in my opinion, as well as anybody could do to sit on that throne and play those songs, right? But you just can't replace. It's just, you can't. And that, not in a bummer way, almost more of like a tip of the cap to him way, struck me. It's just like, yep, but they're doing it anyway because what choice do they have? It's either don't do it or do it this way. And so, but yeah, it's really,
Right.
it made me maybe also want to go back in the catalog and just kind of like kind of hear his kit the way he had it tuned too, you know, like, but that's just me, you know.
Yeah,
dig it.
I have a friend who flew down there from pretty close to where Dave and I live. They flew down there for the first 2 nights, and he was, posting about it, and he was just overjoyed at having like 2 nights in a row, and whatever differences in the set list he got, he was grateful for. So, whereas I think like a lot of the times people will accuse a band of doing like separate set lists, like Metallica's been doing that, and I'm not saying Metallica's doing this, a good or bad way, but people could say, oh, you're just trying to milk the fans by getting them to pay for like 2 tickets or something like that, see 2 shows. But I don't think that's what Rush is trying to do at all. I think they're doing it for the love of the music, for like the celebration. So, and also kind of going back to the whole discussion of, her as the drummer, the amount of like dedications they make to Neil during these shows just shows that they're not taking this lightly, that they're not trying to replace him. They're honoring him. So again, it just goes back to what we were starting with of just, like, it's almost like you're upset on behalf of somebody who is not upset, even though Neil's not around, but like even the rest of them, like they are showing you the legitimacy of this. So how can a fan be upset about it when the band is paying respect to the person you think they should pay respect to?
Fair point. Yeah. And I think one of the more exciting things, and I don't know if it was just opening night, if she did it all 4 nights, Aimee Mann showing up to sing with the band, like that's not been a typical thing. And if it's, I had this thought in my head, and there's that part of me that thinks, boy, that'd be really cool if they had some special guest show up each city. Like at every different city, they have a different special guest show up to do something with them. Granted, it's not like they've done a lot of collaborations, so it's, Shirley in Toronto, maybe Ben Mink shows up to play some violin with them, of course. I think that makes sense. In other cities, I'm not sure who else it would be, because there's really been such a very limited, that might be the entire list, a very limited number of people who have played or sung on a Rush album. There is a third one, and that's a trivia contest answer. Who's the third person, assuming I'm not forgetting somebody, who has ever played another instrument on a Rush album? And that answer would be Hugh Syme, their art director.
No.
Played synthesizer on 2112 on the song, I think it was on Tears.
Oh, I was going to say.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's multi-talented, isn't he?
Well, he also did the intro. He also did the intro. He did the intro for the overture
The
too.
synths, all that stuff, the spacey shit. Yeah.
On the synth, on ARP synthesizer, all the spacey
I did
stuff.
not remember that.
was
How did I
him
miss
too.
that?
Yeah.
Damn it.
And I was just in case anybody thinks I wasn't listening, I was checking Setlist.fm to see, and yeah, Aimee Mann did appear on all 4 of the opening nights.
That encourages me to think they might do more of that. That could be awesome. Even if it's a jokey thing, like Paul Rudd shows up and does something with them or whatever, like, okay, that'd be awesome.
I think something like that did happen.
No?
Let me see.
You thinking?
I think it was Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, they were featured in the films. They were in the intro intro film, and then the end of the night.
Oh.
They were in a little piece on film.
Okay.
From the "I Love You Man" thing, which I was on the set for that movie all day. By the way, another little random piece of trivia. I was on the movie set for that movie, "I Love You Man," in Los Angeles, all day watching Rush play Limelight like 20 times in a row in this little theater, and those guys hadn't. The 2 actors hadn't met them yet. And I witnessed that happen, while they were filming their scenes. And how I was there is a high school friend that worked with DreamWorks. She invited me up for the day, and with the thinking that, oh, yeah, I remember you always loved them, I'll introduce you to them and this and that. Well, guess what? The one day that everybody that never comes to the set at DreamWorks in khakis and shirts was on the set that day.
That's true.
So it was like get in line. Of course, I wasn't gonna do anything but just be a quiet observer all day. So, but yeah, that was my little, before anybody even heard of that
That's
movie, I
awesome.
was
That's
kind
an
of there
amazing
watching
story.
it go down. It was
Jeez.
kind of funny.
I gotta wonder, for a
Yeah.
band like YYNOT, does Rush being out on tour increase your ticket sales, decrease your ticket sales? Are they competition for you, or does it all sort of turn out to be the same because there's always a demand for Rush?
Well, I can't really answer that for sure because the shows that we had played already this year were booked way in advance, and our lead singer is currently on maternity leave. So it just so happens we just played our last show, what, last weekend in Buffalo, and there's no shows until
Yeah.
like September. So I don't know. I mean, I've heard some people say, well, it's kind of a way to hear the music, for $25 as opposed to whatever. Obviously, it's not the same band. It's not even close, but it's, yeah, well,
2,500.
so I really don't know. Yeah, I can't,
Yeah, I guess it's hard to
yeah,
gauge so far. It's a little early, and if you're not playing at the same time,
yeah,
who knows,
who
right?
knows?
Yeah. But it's an amazing thing we live in. I had resigned myself to the idea that there was never going to be any live Rush in my life again. The closest I came to it was Geddy's book tour. And so and I remember that night sitting there going, God, I miss those guys. It had been way too long. And it's an amazing thing that we're able to be in that. And so, I'm so glad we had a chance to talk about it and chat about that, because it's like all that going on and all these things happening. You feel like you want to talk with somebody about it and just talk some Rush. I'm curious, as far as all the things we've talked about, Billy, is there anything so far that's on your mind we haven't talked about?
Well, let's see. Well, I'm back to work on a second solo record. I'm doing that kind of as we speak, and then more shows with some other stuff and some other projects around here. And but in terms of Rush directly related, like I said, we're not playing any of the material of theirs until September. So right now, I'm just like everybody else, just kind of like looking at clips and some talking with you guys about their current tour and just being a fan.
Yeah. I am curious. I'm hoping that we will be able to expect Bubba Bash 5 coming up next January.
Yeah, it's on the books. And
Excellent.
yeah, so and we'll see. I mean, it's we haven't yet really discussed who's going to be on the bill and things like that, but it's always changing things up. There's always the usual suspects that are kind of in that Bubba Bash family of actual friends of Neil's and friends of ours now after doing this for geez, like you said, 5. This will be 5. I can't even believe that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? I know that Neil's wife and daughter were at the last show, and that
Oh,
was
were they really?
really cool. Yeah, they were there. Were you at the last Bubba Bash this last year?
I've been at all 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
all
you
4.
might have just well, they keep a low profile, so it's not like they're waving
Yeah, I'm sure.
lighters around.
Wearing signs.
But yeah, so right. Yeah, so yeah. Well, keep your eyes peeled for that in January, but it's slated to happen. So
Awesome. Maybe one of these years, Geddy and Alex will show up for it, and the Keswick will be
I don't
absolutely overrun.
I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know. That's well, Tim, our bassist, he's the product manager for all Geddy's gear. The
Oh, I did not know
1021
that.
stuff. Yeah, so they have I mean they're with Scully, his bass tech and everything, they have a sort of a kind of a direct connection with that aspect of things. But yeah, we would never put somebody in an awkward position where they'd have to politely say no anyway, and they're probably not going to like, oh, hey, can we get in on that? They're
Yeah.
kind of busy. And I'm sure by the time January rolls around, they're probably going to want to maybe not play a few of those songs. I don't know. But that would sure be
Yeah.
fun, right?
Oh yeah. That would be the proverbial moment you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Jordan,
I
final
guess the only
thoughts from
thing
you?
we could talk about further for a bit, and I'm always curious, is like that.
Yeah.
There's always that reaction from fans when bands don't play the songs they want to see in concert, and especially in a case like this where it is so clearly not only for like the band but for the fans to kind of reminisce and reconnect and all. So I'm curious, like, what obligation do you both think Rush have to play certain songs? It sounds like they're already playing a lot of what people wanted. Like the last show, they played A Farewell to Kings for the first time since 1979. So I'm curious, like, do they have any obligation to play like a Tom Sawyer or Spirit of Radio or any of the big ones, or not?
Billy, I'll let you take this one first.
I think they do. I think, I think I'm not going to speak for them, but I think they almost, I think in a Beato interview, Geddy as much said with Tom Sawyer. That's just a given. That's not one that can be taken out of any set they do, ever. And I feel like that's fine because I think they like the song. It's a challenge from a drumming standpoint. We all know that. As far as anything else, their catalog is so expansive and they've covered so many eras and satisfied or unsatisfied so many eras of fans. That enters that whole, we're never going to make everybody happy. So why don't we do what we feel good about in rehearsal and putting stuff together, and then throw a few kind of like, I guess they wouldn't be called Easter eggs, but maybe some surprises for, here's for the early fans during, Caress of Steel. Here's for the 80s fans. Here's for the 90s fans, 2000, whatever. So far, it seems like they're mixing it up pretty good. So I feel like they probably have an obligation in their minds to satisfy as much as they can with the catalog. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, I tend to think usually in most cases, most concerts, I will have maybe a couple of songs in my mind like, yeah, they got to play this song. They got to do this probably in the encore and all that. For the most part, in many ways, when I think of shows like this, I think to a degree that goes out the window a little bit. Like if I walked away from the show and they hadn't played Tom Sawyer, I'm all right with it because, I mean, I pretty much almost want to hear damn near everything they might want to play. Like almost anything from the catalog. It's been 10, 11 years now for me. And I'm happy with whatever. I think if I were to say, oh, we got to play a song, I really want you to play a song, it's going to always be Subdivisions because that's for me is the top one. I remember coming out of the R40 shows when they were, doing the backwards thing, and they pretty much were hitting every album. But I remember the only thing that disappointed me much at all in that is I really wanted them to play Far Cry from Snakes and Arrows, and they didn't play that. Because I love that song. That to me is as great a latter-day Rush song as anything they wrote in the early days. But for me, on this, and especially if it's like a thing where they've got 4 nights in the city and they're rotating the set list, you know what? Yeah, you guys don't necessarily need to play any 1 or 2 particular songs every night. Mix it up as much as you want. Have fun with it. Eat, drink, and be merry, for we may die tomorrow, whatever it is, like who knows? You may not get another chance at this. So play whatever. And if there's something you leave off, I can live with that.
I will tell you something though. Try putting together, and just from our perspective, try putting together a 2.5-hour set with a 50-year Rush career and 3 original albums that we have, and what? It's so impossible because you're cutting out songs, and then somebody in the band goes, "Wait a minute, we have to do that one." well, we're up to 3.5 hours. We have to cut something, and then it's really, well, what do you cut? What do you cut? What do you cut? And it really is difficult. Now, those guys have the same problem now because they're not doing 3 hours. They're doing a little bit less time. So it really is tough, and then you can't even make everybody in your own band happy, much less the audience. So, you should try it sometime. See if you could come up with a set list of 2 hours worth and see what makes it and what doesn't. You'll be surprised. You'll be like, wow, it is hard,
Oh.
It gets tough. It really does. All I know is if they pull out the garden, I am probably going to cry. I'm just saying.
I think they already have.
Well, they do on my night.
First night.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep. First night.
I think that's
wow.
Yeah. No, as I admit, like, I am not nearly as well versed in Rush as you guys are, as a lot of people are. I should definitely fix that over the summer. Why not? But of all the songs I've heard, aside from, the classic stuff and like 2112 and YYZ, like The Garden, I think is the best song I've heard of like pure songwriting. I think that song, especially it being like the last one, and
Oh my God.
it's such a tearjerker. It's so beautiful.
What a perfect final song to go out on, basically. Like, even if the band comes back with new music at some point in time, which actually I guess is a topic we haven't talked about, is the idea is it going to be that Clockwork Angels will remain the final Rush album, and they basically were just going these kinds of tours when they do it from here on out? Or how do we feel about the potential for Alex and Geddy to go, you know what? We started the two of us writing the music. We'll finish up with the two of us writing the music and the lyrics.
Maybe they could do, this is a joke, but maybe they could do something like Sublime has been doing. It's like Sublime with Annika and Lauren or something. So, or Rush with like Annika and Lauren. So it's, because I think, again, as I was saying when I started, they could, it's up to the two of them to decide what they want to do with their band. So you can like it, not like it, buy the album, not like, discuss if it's warranted. But at the end of the day, it's their decision.
Yeah.
But it's one of the cases where I could even myself kind of say, like, I don't know if they should put out another studio album and just call it Rush. Because I could see that being like very controversial, even more so than the tour. Because the tour, again, is just like a celebration of a legacy, I see, more than anything else. Whereas this is like, we're continuing without somebody that everybody wants to be a part of this. So I could see that being a lot dicier.
Billy, what do you think about the prospect of having to learn new Rush music to cover?
Oh, well, like I said, we already have so many songs, even songs off of our original stuff to squeeze in. So, but if they came out with something that was so special, but I don't know, that would be kind of weird, like a tribute band playing someone's current song. I don't know, that'd be probably wouldn't do that. That's a little no. But I don't know, maybe that, they, all speculation, of course, but they could maybe decide that organically or not. Like maybe with being around her, maybe they jam on some stuff and then Geddy gets a little idea and goes, and then just for fun, they write something, and maybe for fun, they do it and record it. Don't tell anybody. And if they get a feeling back from it that they feel like there's something here, we should follow this rabbit hole. Yeah. That's up to them too. I don't think they'll probably do that. But you never know. Geddy seems like he's got a lot of that rocket sauce left in the tank as far as driven ideas and want to. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to at least maybe like one track or something as a single. I don't know. Never say never,
Fair point. I'm of the mindset that, again, it kind of comes down to, this band started and was Alex and Geddy and another guy before it was Alex and Geddy and Rush. So it's pretty much always been their band and was for quite a while before Neil joined. And yes, the Rush that we came to know and love crystallized when he joined the band. And anything else after that feels like it's something a bit different. Even though that there's much that people love about the first album, it's a different animal. It's a different animal altogether. Similar to like Dream Theater. Yeah, they had an album without James LaBrie. But, like really Dream Theater was Dream Theater when James LaBrie joined the band. And that's, kind of how they've remained. But then they've changed some members over the years. I think it feels more like a big deal, the idea of changing a member when there's only 3 people in the band. And you're talking about such a large contributor like Neil with the lyrics and everything like that. And of course, his amazing drumming. So in the end, if Alex and Geddy are of a mind to make new music, much like the concert, I'll be kind of excited, and it'll still be kind of weird because I'll be looking at that Neil-shaped hole that's not completely filled there along with it. And I probably will enjoy it. I both their solo albums and enjoy them both in different ways. Alex is like a mad scientist in his, and Geddy was clearly the smooth songwriter part of that duo, and took the two of them blending together to make Rush the unique sound that it is. But it's an interesting thought. I wouldn't begrudge them if they want to do it. There's nothing in my mind that says these two guys have to go to the grave, never making music together again. Yeah.
Agreed.
And we'll see what happens. They could do either or if they want this.
Pretty much.
I'm there for either. If you just want to tour, I'm there, as long as I can buy the tickets. If you want to make a new album,
That's
I'm
the
there.
key.
I'm all about it.
They won't charge astronomical prices for a CD. You can be sure of that.
Yeah, that should hopefully be the truth. Granted, those box sets run kind of high. I'm still laughing about the irony of they put out the 40th anniversary edition of Grace Under Pressure, and they have it remixed by the guy they fired after the last album because he wasn't really adapting to the 80s well.
That's ironic.
Okay, sure. And I didn't need the remix. I love that album as it is. But anyway. All right. Well, that was a great question there, Jordan. Do you have more in your head there that haven't come out yet?
Oh. No, none that I can immediately go to.
Perfect. Yeah, because you know what? You steered me back towards 1 or 2 points that I knew I'd forgotten along the way as I got into the motion of things. So, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Billy, for joining us for the first time in the Prog Council. I hope we can maybe have you and or Tim back someday, or maybe all of YYNOT when everybody's ready. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. Love to.
Excellent. And of course, a big thanks to all of you out there watching and listening and following along with Jordan and me of the Prog Council and our guest, Billy Alexander of YYNOT. We appreciate your time. Don't forget, we do have another regularly scheduled episode for the Prog Council coming up end of June, beginning of July, and that is going to feature a guest panelist filling in for Paul Zotter, who unfortunately will need to be absent again. That'll be Joe Beauclair, also of the Progressive Palaver podcast. And we have some pretty cool special guests for that episode. Something a little different this time around, but I think it'll be a fun conversation. So do the things you normally would do. Comment, let us know your thoughts on Rush and the tour and Annika and all of that stuff. And even Lauren. Don't forget Lauren. He's a nice guy, I hear. Comment about him if you could. And maybe, buy some merch. Buy us a coffee if you would like. I'll share with everybody, as of course I would. And in the meantime, there'll be more interviews on Bleeding Edge and more other fun stuff. So you subscribe, you hit the bell, you get notified when all that stuff comes about. In the meantime, I leave you with the usual message. Hang loose, never fear to deviate from the norm, and as always, keep it private.